Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to Clock Country. I'm Andrew, and today we're talking about the GR3X. So I just wanted to kind of give my first impressions about this camera. I've had it for a little while, but I haven't had too many chances to go out and shoot it like I normally would. I spent a little bit of time working on set last month, and so I shot it then, but you know, that's not kind of the normal type of photos that I take. So I haven't really felt like I've gotten enough experience using it to give it like a full review. So I'm just gonna kind of go over what I've noticed so far. There's a lot of videos out there about this GR3X already that are more technical, especially because this camera's been out since, I want to say like 2001 or maybe earlier than that, but it's been out for a while. So if you're really looking for like technical things, you might want to skip this one and go somewhere else. But if you're kind of interested in how I'm using it or what I think about it, then I'm gonna let you know right now. I will go over just a few things about it and some of the differences I noticed between this camera and a different Ricoh that I owned before, which was the GR2. The GR2 was a great camera and I really enjoyed it, but it kind of had some limitations, and one of them being how wide the lens was. Now, and that like even would continue in a normal GR3. But the GR3X actually kind of fixed some of my issues with that, having a tighter focal length of 40 millimeters. Yeah, that's one of the biggest differences, and that's one of the reasons why I was even kind of excited about picking one of these up, because it had that focal length. I just never found, and I continuously, like, I don't usually want to frame up images with such a wide lens. 35 is usually like kind of the limit, and anything wider than that I usually find that it's too distorted, and I just don't find the focus of my images being so concise with that kind of focal length. Anyhow, yeah, so let's just go over some quick things about this new camera. The new camera has a new sensor, and it's an APS-C sensor, but it's 24 megapixels instead of, like on the GR2 it was only 16, so it's a big step up from there. It's got a new processor in it, and I think it's got like image stabilization, which the old one didn't. What else? It's got some like new focusing technology, like eye autofocus. Also, the reason why I even bought this camera, before this camera I had a Canon R6, and then I actually moved to a Canon R5C, which is like an R5 with a cinema kind of menu system, and I found that that camera was fantastic for like filming YouTube or projects like that, but it was not so good for taking photos, and so I ended up deciding to trade that in and get the Canon that I really wanted, which was the C70, which I'm filming with now. But I needed to shoot stills, and the Canon C70 cannot do that. So I decided to look into the GR3X, and I ended up going with it. Now, can it do all the jobs that the R5 or the R6 can do? I don't think so, but I'm pretty impressed with what this little tiny camera can do. So yeah, I don't know, it's an interesting kind of move from a big mirrorless camera that's like professional grade that can do everything with multiple lenses to something like this with a fixed lens. I don't think I'm asking too much of this camera, but yeah, I'm a little bit surprised with how good the images have come out. So anyways, let's go into the pros. The ergonomics, it's small, light, and I can carry it every single day, which the R5C was not like that. It was a heavy camera, and then it was bulky because it had a fan on the back, and it just, I didn't find myself taking it out to take photos that often. So this is really great because I can just put it in my pocket, and I've been doing that every day. And even if I only take 1 or 2 photos, I'm still have that chance to get moments that I see out there. So I think that's really great thing about the size. The image quality is pretty good. I would say that like compared to the old GR2, it's definitely a step up. And even like things like Ricoh has this kind of crop sensor mode where you can crop in to get a tighter focal length. And I tried using it on the GR2 because I really didn't like how wide that one was. It was like a 28 equivalent. I didn't like how wide it was, so I would crop in. But then you can see the image degrade a little bit, especially if you want to crop in. It just didn't have the data. Where this does, so this actually has a crop mode of 50mm and 75. I haven't used it yet because I usually will just do cropping in post. But I think it's actually usable, at least to 50mm focal length. So yeah, I think having the bigger image size is really great. And even shooting RAW, which is what I mostly shoot, the file sizes aren't that big because it's only 24. It's not like the R5 was, I think, around 45 megapixels and the files were very big. In combination with the sensor, it's also got a lens on it that's fantastic. It's like a 7-element, it's a new lens, it's 7 elements, and it's really, really sharp, and it's really neutral, and the color rendition's pretty good. So it gives you like a great kind of like neutral image that you can work with in post. And I think that for me, just having an everyday carry camera, that's probably the best kind of solution. I want something that's just like a clean slate that I can kind of modify as I want in post. I mean, it's really similar to the mirrorless cameras that I was shooting before. Yeah, the lens doesn't really have much character to it, but I think in the way of being this kind of do everything camera, that's a good advantage. And it brings me to how versatile it is. Because the lens is a little tighter, I feel that I can actually shoot, not portraits necessarily, but taking pictures of people it does a nice job of, as well as kind of the standard street shooting that I do. Well, not street shooting, but kind of cityscape photos that I mostly take. That's really a nice thing about its ability to do multiple things. And the other thing too is it's got really good autofocus now, especially with the eye tracking autofocus. So taking pictures of people works, it's really easy. Some of the things I don't really like about it on first kind of impression is the build quality. You know, it's a nice built camera, but it definitely feels fragile, and it makes me really like kind of conscious of where it is. Like I'll put it in my pocket and I'll take it out and I'm just like really making sure I have the strap on, and I really don't want it to bang into anything. It doesn't have that weight and that kind of build that like a big professional mirrorless has. So it's a little bit worrying in that way. Like the battery door is pretty shaky, and the front ring, I think if anyone owns this camera, they know that the front ring kind of shakes around. Yeah, so it's not very confidence inspiring in the build quality. It is small, but maybe that's kind of the trade-off. Another thing that I talked about a little bit before is image stabilization. I might be a little biased coming from Canon with it's got like really, really good image stabilization, and you can take pictures at night like with really long shutter speeds or slow shutter speeds. This camera, it's got it, but I just don't think it is very effective. And not because it's not doing its job, but mostly because this camera is so small, and when you take a picture, even when you push the button down, the camera kind of moves. It's and I don't know if the image stabilization can counteract that. So when I went out and took some shots at night, you know, some of them are have a little bit of motion blur, some of them don't. I don't know. You can also feel it moving around when the camera's off, and it makes it feel more fragile. So I almost feel like I don't want it, the image stabilization, but I don't know. We'll see. As I use it more, maybe I'll find that it really comes in handy. And then the autofocus. So I said it was great with the eye tracking, but at nighttime, or if you shoot in the dark or like kind of low light situations, it can't find focus very easily. You really need to find points of contrast to kind of line up your kind of focus grid or your box to get it to focus on things. And I haven't messed with the manual focus too much on it. It's not very good in the nighttime. So going further into that, I wouldn't call this like a low light camera at all. They advertise being like having like a really high ISO number, but when I was shooting the other night, I wouldn't go above 3200. I think the image kind of really, it doesn't fall apart in any way, but it really degrades and takes away from kind of the nice smooth image that it normally has. So I guess if you're shooting at night, I would, and if I shoot at night more, I'll probably do it on a tripod. But overall, I think it's like a great camera for its size, and I think it has a lot of potential. And I mean, when you look at the raw files, they're really a lot to work with. So I think for a long time, I can kind of keep me working and shooting on a daily basis, which is something that's really important to me. And I needed to get something that I could shoot every day, and I needed to get something that wasn't film, because to be honest, we all know film has gotten so expensive, and I'm not really willing to pay those prices anymore. So you'll probably see a lot more digital coming out of this channel, just because it's just too expensive to be kind of worth it these days. So anyways, yeah, I find that this kind of fills a lot of boxes, and I think going forward, look for more content about this camera, and maybe I'll do a photo walk with it, because I think it's a great little package. And yeah. Oh, one more thing that's fantastic and I love about this is there's USB-C charging, which I think everything should have these days. I know some of you out there already own this camera or have shot with it or had the GR2, and I'm just curious if you have anything or any tips for me. Please leave them in the comments, and I'll try to read those and get back to you. But anyways, thanks again for watching. I'm Andrew, this is Clock Country, and I'll see you later. Bye bye.